Well, time now for Media Watch, for which I am joined by James Creedon. So, James, today we're going to start off with the front cover of The Economist. And Gaddafi, I believe the line's Gaddafi gone yet?
Well, right, it's on the front page, as you would expect, of a lot of the weekly magazines this week. Going, and they don't have the word gone just yet, but they do have his hat. You can see him shrinking and gradually becoming more diminutive. And his hat now on eBay, going now on eBay. And basically there were pictures during the week coming out of Tripoli on several of the international news channels, on Sky News first of all, I think, of a rebel inside in the Gaddafi compound wearing his hat and a chain and some sort of a golden mace as well. It was one of the iconic pictures of the past week, and I suppose it really symbolised his demise. Inside, they're looking at the implications for what happened in the past week for Libya, more broadly for the Middle East and for NATO. Now, they're saying for Libya, obviously things are very uncertain. The rebels are the National Transitional Council. They're a sort of an unknown quantity in many senses. Now, what will help Libya is the fact that it's essentially, there's no sectarian divide in the country. So it'll really be it'll depend on how easily the rebels are disarmed, and I suppose how quickly Gaddafi loyalists are dealt with. And there, of course, is going to be a power vacuum now, a temporary power vacuum, as there was in Iraq and as there was in Afghanistan. So that will probably mean looting. It'll probably mean revenge attacks. In any case, so that's the case for Libya. What about the broader Middle East? It's only a good thing, according to The Economist. It's going to be good for Syria, where President Assad is under a lot of pressure to step down as well. So that'll be good for those who want to see him leave. It'll also give people confidence in Tunisia and Egypt, where their revolutions perhaps have hit a few hitches along the way. And for NATO, it's also good news, of course, after a 5-month campaign, that it's finally come to a close.
And what about coverage of protest movements elsewhere?
Well, this is it. I mean, we're seeing on websites, if we just have a look at Storyful, this is a website that collates and brings together pictures, tweets, etc. from across different regions. Here you have videos that were put online today of huge protests in Yemen. There were also protest movements in Syria today. So, I mean, the Arab Spring is still underway, I guess, and perhaps surprisingly, this is the Middle East, but in the US, Robert Reich, now he was the Secretary for Labour in the Clinton administration, a very prominent public policy professor. Now, he is calling for massive protests on Labour Day. Now, Labour Day is the first Monday of September. It's the 5th of September. It's coming up next weekend. He, as a former Labour minister, is saying that the situation in the US is worse now than it has been in maybe a century for workers. The increase in pay that workers have seen in the past 10 years is actually worse than it was during the Great Depression. He said all of this time, American corporations are making an awful lot of money. They're making more money and creating more jobs outside of the US than in the US because of the very high unemployment rate of some 25 million Americans unemployed. Employers also have quite a lot of bargaining in terms of pushing down wages and pushing down benefits. So he says it's just such a catastrophic situation, and Washington is so paralysed politically to do anything about it, that he said everyone should just get out onto the streets, forget about the picnics, forget about the marches, and everybody should just demonstrate on Labour Day, demonstrate their discontent.
Now, also, we've got a story about a university professor in China who doesn't have the highest of opinions of the effect France has on Chinese students.
This is a really bizarre story. Now, it's on the Rue 89 website. That's a kind of a left-leaning website here in France. And they picked it up from the Global Times in China. Female Chinese students returned from France as floozies, according to one professor. Now, he was recorded by students who didn't realise he was being recorded, and then the video was put up online. Basically, what he was saying is he noticed female students who had spent some time studying in France came back with very few inhibitions, as he put it. All of the Chinese students who came back from France are rotten to the core. They're all Pangilian. Now, Pangilian is a character in a Chinese classic novel who is, I suppose, a symbol really for prostitution and for having no morals at all. So he seemed to think that basically that's how young Chinese women come back from France. And obviously a lot of young Chinese women who are studying in France have been protesting about that online on social networking sites, saying, really, we spend our time studying and working. What is he talking about? This is just total rubbish.
Well, that's a pretty damning analysis of continental passions, but thank you very much for that. James Creedon there with Media Watch.